All right, Boston College and Florida State. Final game. This is the Monday night Labor Day game in college football. Florida State trying to lick their wounds after a loss as double-digit favorites in Ireland against Georgia Tech last week. Florida State 17-point favorites back home at Tallahassee, Doak Campbell Stadium, 50 the total. Look at the reaction in the betting markets, C-Mac, to that game from Saturday against Georgia Tech. Because just a few days ago, Florida State was 20 and a half point home favorites in this game, and it's been a 3.5 point move since Saturday's loss to Georgia Tech. Florida State now just 17. The money's poured in on Boston College. Now, again, Florida State's played a game. Boston College is not. And long term, it's about 56% ATS for the team that has played a game. Or actually, it's 56% for the team that hasn't played a game, I should say, ATS. So it's better, actually. It's been more of an advantage for the team that hasn't played a game yet, which BC hasn't, because they get to sit back, watch the film on their opponent who played that game. It's not better for the team that's actually got a game on their belt based on past results. So that's another thing that points to Boston College. I just worry it's moved too much, but I'm very leery, even in a bounce back spot, to lay 17 with what I saw from Florida State. I saw a D-line that, and I was laughing at people that were in the scouts that were saying this was the best defensive line in the country. You lost Jared Verse. You lost Braden Fiske. You lost so many good players from that deal. What, you just think you're going to be as good, or some people said even better. I'm like, my gosh, you act like you lost nobody last year on that D-line. And that D-line got pushed around. Georgia Tech just completely bullied, quite honestly, for extended portions of that game, the Florida State defensive line. That's concerning. The run game was spotty. DJ Uiagalelei, up and down with his passing game throughout that game for Florida State. So I think it's just, there's a lot of concerns here coming out of that game. What do you get from Boston College? What is your opinion of Boston College is probably going to determine it. I don't love the hire of Bill O'Brien as the head coach. I'm not the biggest Bill O'Brien fan. I don't know how this is going to go, but I guess you could do worse. Thomas Castellanos is another guy that's got to work on his accuracy, cut down on the interceptions. He had 14 of them last year for Boston College. He's going to have to improve on that if he's going to take another step forward as a passing quarterback this year for the Eagles. They bring back Kai Robichaux at running back, Lewis Bond, top receiver back. So they are pretty good in the skill position talent area, and they have 3 starting offensive linemen back. So this offense actually has potential to improve. The defense wasn't great, over 28 points per game, 74th. 8 starters back. However, a couple of their top tacklers gone. So a lot of returning experience, but a couple of the guys they lost were 2 of their better players on defense. So how does Boston College maneuver that? I don't know. I'm not rushing after that game to lay with set. Now, again, Florida State can't mope and woe is me and put their head in the sand here, because even though that's a costly loss, you can your playoff door, unlike previous years, is still open. If you can get back in the saddle and start winning some games again, you put yourself back in the conversation. We'll see if they can do that. But again, just like we talked about CMAC with Georgia Tech, another negative for Florida State, all that fucking travel back from to Ireland and then back from Ireland prior to this game on Monday night. Does it take a lot out of them is the question. So a lot of money, CMAC, for BC. I understand it. Are you part of that move? What do you think here, BC, FSU?
This is, I think there could be success. Yeah, Florida State just, DJ, I thought he didn't look great in that first half. I thought he made some all right throws, but he's got to be better, and they didn't win the game, period. Florida State's defense, too, I thought played all right. One thing with Castellanos, and he had success last year. I know that was in BC. It was kind of a cold day, I think I remember, Havana. But it's kind of like Haynes King, dual threat here. Quarterback. Could throw it and run it. He needs to not. The interceptions, you brought it up. 14, 15 TDs and picks. He takes care of the ball. Boston College is in this, and they score some points. I lean to this over. I think it's a little bit too low. And because I think Florida State will be able to score on BC. Their defense that still, I think, has some issues. I want to dig in a little bit more. But I'm leaning over, and I lean the points too here with BC. I don't want to go crazy with the reaction, but I think they get back home and maybe win this game. And BC has always played them tough. There's a blowout or two.
Oh, I remember last year in Chestnut Hill, C-Mac. I remember that game well.
Yeah.
Florida State was a huge favorite in that game. And that was with Jordan Travis,
27.
of course, still at quarterback last year. And they struggled. They struggled mightily in that game against BC last year. And they barely survived the straight-up win.
Yeah, look at these, 26-23, 38-31. The last few years, 22-21. And then in 22, it was the lone cover blowout, 44-14 there, Florida State, BC. So some tighter games, and I think this could be here. A lot of eye for Florida State, but yeah, points and lean over here.
Yeah, all right, leaning BC, leaning over the total. C-Mac here with the final game here for week 1. Monday night, that's a very intriguing game, and I know everyone's chomping at the bit to see what response we get from Florida State following a very disappointing loss to Georgia Tech. And again, 31-29, survived by the skin of their teeth, outgained by 106 yards last year by Boston College in that game as well.
Hey, can they keep running it? You know, Georgia Tech had that success with that great line, but BC had success, running it. I think they will.
I'm not running the late 17 with Florida State on Monday night. That much I know. Great stuff. What a show. A shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. On the way out, we have reached the end of the road. Great analysis for week 1. Looking forward to it, the first full week of the college football slate. Make sure you tell everyone, subscribe to the channel, hitting the books. This is where we'll be all season long. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Spread the word that we are back, C-Mac and I, every Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Next week, though, we'll have to shift the show to Tuesday, and we do this every year for Labor Day, because Labor Day I'm gone at the Ticats game, the annual CFL Argos Ticats rivalry game here in Hamilton. So we'll do the show Tuesday next week at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll see you next week. For C-Mac, I'm Ian Cameron. This has been another edition of College Football Hitting the Books, and we'll see you again next week for another edition of Hitting the Books.